Hi friends, I had a request to try to help describe objective number 3 in the respiratory system, which was to describe how breathing occurs and is controlled. Now how it occurs with the muscles is pretty straightforward, but probably the latter part in terms of how the brain controls things is probably more of the challenge. So here's a very quick, go back here. I click on it right. Here is kind of how the actual physical part of breathing works. We've talked a little bit about the diaphragm. This is a nice 3D model of it. So you can see here's the diaphragm muscle, big sheet of muscle, and every time it contracts and goes down, you notice your chest raises up. That's half the battle right there. It's almost like a plunger. When you pull back, it sucks air in, kind of thing. And here's just a little different view of it. So that's the major muscle, the diaphragm, and as it pulls down, the air comes sucking right in, literally, because there's a change in pressure, and that balloon, aka lung, fills up and pushes your chest up. And the other half of this, I go to the next one, has to do with your intercostal muscles. Remember, the intercostal muscles are the muscles that are found in between your ribs, the ones we eat when we order ribs. And they're actually, like most muscles, work in opposition. So when your diaphragm contracts and goes down, there's a set that contract, which help raise your chest. And when you relax and breathe out, those other set kind of contract and pull it back down again. So those are the two major muscles which literally are sucking air in and out of your body. So that part. Okay, next one. Okay, and then what I want to refer to is, I guess, this one here. Well, this one here first. In that. So what controls that? Any muscle in your body that moves, which contracts, has to be under control of the nervous system, whether it be voluntary or involuntary. And this can be both, because you can stop breathing for a bit, and you pass out, you start breathing again, then it's involuntary. And most of the time you never think about breathing because it'd be kind of a pain if you had to think every couple seconds, like, oh, breathe in, breathe out. That wouldn't work so well in terms of evolution of how we work. So how it gets determined is by a certain part of your brain, and it's pretty much the pons and the medulla oblongata. You say medulla here. And these are just nerve clusters which actually send signals down your spinal cord to your diaphragm or to your intercostal muscles to contract at certain times. And again, any muscle, which is technically an effector, it can't just do it by itself. It has to have that information or signal coming from the brain somewhere. So that's the respiratory center of your brain. Now what controls that and modifies that has to do with the conditions of your blood. And it really comes down to really two things: oxygen levels and carbon dioxide levels. Big surprise. But let's start with the carbon dioxide levels. So when you build up a lot of carbon dioxide in your blood because you're carrying a lot of respiration, and since your blood is mostly made of water, as is the interstitial fluid and cytoplasm, remember, when carbon dioxide and water mix together, it forms a very weak acid called carbonic acid. And when you talk about the pH scale, notice the H part, because what an acid is excess hydrogen ions. When they get really high, you get a lot of these, that's what we talk about being acidic. And so as your blood becomes higher and higher in CO2, mixes the water, your blood becomes more acidic, or we could say the pH goes down. And it turns out that you have receptors in different parts of your body, specifically some in the heart, some in the aorta, and they pick up on those changes in pH levels. And if they do, what it does, it sends a signal to your respiratory center and says, like, start breathing faster. Because remember, you want to exhale more, you want to get rid of the CO2. And conversely, your oxygen levels may be low too. Which is the other part of this, which is, I don't have any diagrams here, but we also have sensors, so to speak, in our body which pick up oxygen levels. And when they start getting low, that also, they send signals up to the brain, and then the brain sends signals back to your intercostal muscle and diaphragm. So hopefully that helps with that objective in terms of how we control breathing. So there's the physical mechanics of it, and here's the nervous control of it in terms of it's based on acid and oxygen.